Hey guys, welcome to Punk Pop Review. Sorry, my bed's messy in the background. I did not make it today. Don't tell anyone. But yeah, please do not DM my mom on Instagram, telling her that her son's has a messy room and stuff, because I'm gonna get beaten with the belt. So please don't. But anyways, yeah. So as you can tell, today's video is different from the last two videos. Instead of an album review, I'm just going to be talking about all the I consider there to be three eras of pop punk, in my opinion. So I'm going to be talking about the three eras of pop punk, and which one's the best and why. Okay, so I consider there to be, obviously I'm not talking about punk rock. This is punk pop. Obviously, punk rock has existed for quite a long time. Not really anymore, but like it was like a big, it was obviously around, like, even in like this probably like 70s and like 80s and stuff, but this is punk pop, okay, not punk rock. And even though you might consider some of the stuff that some of the bands I'm talking about punk rock, because they might have been called punk rock at the time, I feel like I'm just calling them punk pop, because they're not like punk rock. What I consider to be punk rock is like Ramones and stuff, and like Sex Pistols. I don't really like them that much. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like those bands. But anyways, yeah, okay. So the first era of pop punk is generally existed from like 1995 or like 1996 all the way to like 2002, 2003. I'm not really entirely sure, but I think that really the bands that kind of started punk pop, even though they kind of called themselves like, or not necessarily called themselves. I know that one of these bands specifically called themselves punk rock at first, but then eventually adopted into punk pop when they figured out kind of like what it really was. Where I think the bands that really started this genre were Green Day and Blink-182, which pretty much you have to know those bands, even if you don't listen to punk pop. Like, you have to know those bands, especially Green Day. Green Day is probably like definitely like one of the biggest bands of like all time, pretty much. And Blink-182 is obviously also very, very, very popular. Almost, I mean, if you grew up during like 1995 to, if you were like in high school in like 1999 or whatever, then, or like to like, if you were in high school from like 1999 to 2002, you had to know Blink-182. You had to know people that were listening to them, because obviously they were a huge band. And yeah, they had albums that really kicked them off were, for Green Day, Dookie, which, let me check when that exactly came out. I believe 1995. I'm not completely sure. It might have been later than that, or 1994. Wow, really? All right, then I guess it's from 1994 to 2002. My bad. I was surprised. I thought it came out in like 2000 or in 1996 or 1995. Anyways, yeah. So, yeah, and okay, yeah. So, and Enema State was obviously a huge thing in 1999. That was what really started Blink-182, where they kind of were known nationwide. Obviously, they had like a pretty decent fan base, or like people knew them. But like after like Dude Ranch and stuff, I mean, not like, obviously not a lot of people, but they were like kind of like a band that like was kind of like existed, and like, you know, some people knew them. Like, not really a lot of people knew them though. But NO State was where they really kicked off, and people were like, wow, this band is good. And then that's really what kind of started pop punk, as far as I can tell. And yeah, so this like 2000, like, and then in the 2000s and stuff, like from 2000 or like 1999 really to 2002, there was band, like other bands started popping up similar to Blink-182, like Sum 41 or, you know, Good Charlotte. But obviously Blink-182 was still a really big deal, and same thing with Green Day. Green Day had albums like Warning coming out in like the year 2000 and stuff that were obviously like everyone knew Green Day like in late 90s obviously already, but yeah, that's like albums were just coming out that kind of offered almost a relatable attitude for like rebellious like kids that were just like, yeah, we don't give a about nothing, and like the lyrics and stuff, and just like the attitude of the songs, especially Sum 41 and Blink-182, just kind of offered a, like, just a really, like, relatable attitude for kids who, like, just didn't care. They were just like, we don't care, we're gonna wear our hair like freaking, what's his name? The guy from Good Charlotte. I don't even know his name. Benji? Is it Benji Madden, maybe? I don't know, maybe that's it. But there's two brothers in the band, and one of them has, like, it's crazy. I mean, at least he did for a little while. But, like, just kids really started relating to them. It's, like, especially, like, kids in high school and stuff who were just kind of, like, sick of life. They were like, what the heck? And they just kind of started to follow along with this, like, music, and it really got big, because, yeah, and it just became a really big thing, obviously, and the early 2000s was really a big, and again, you can call this punk rock if you want, but in my opinion, punk rock is really, like, the later, like, way earlier than this stuff, so I think it's punk pop, but people can say it's punk rock or whatever. And then obviously there was My Chemical Romance, which I'm not even going to talk about. My Chemical Romance is not really punk rock or punk pop. I feel like they're just plain old 2000s rock, or like emo rock, or whatever you want to call them. I honestly don't think they have anything to do with any of these bands at all. Like, I don't know. And then there was and that's the end of me talking about that era, because that was obviously the start of punk pop, and it was really big. That was probably, like, the peak was in, like, 2002, and then, or sorry, not 2002, like 2000, or it's like 1999 to, like, really just to 2001 or 2002, where kids were just, like, wearing all sorts of crazy stuff, and had, like, attitudes and stuff. And then there was the second era of pop punk, which overlaps almost with, as I talked about earlier in the starting line video, I talked about a little bit about how, like, obviously this, like, Say It Like You Mean It came out, in 2002, but so did, like, other punk pop things that were completely different, sounded a lot different. Like, Sum 41 sounds nothing really like the starting line, or, like, I don't know, or Cartel. I did an album review on them, so, or sorry, no, Cartel is not this period, sorry. I meant, like, Newfound Glory and stuff. Because I feel like this next era is really, there's almost, like, two kind of parts to it, but they're very similar. Anyways, so in era 2 there was really, like, they kind of overlapped with era 1. And so they, like, albums were coming out in the same year that were kind of both considered punk pop. And then eventually I feel like the era 1 started to die out, and then era 2 took its place with bands that were, like, really popular. Definitely Newfound Glory was huge, which, I don't know, I think they started, like, I think they started in the 90s, but they weren't really, like, that big until probably, like, 2000 and 2001, or 2000, sorry. They came out with an album, anyways, I don't know. And then, those kinds of bands obviously sparked other things, and I feel like it kind of lasted for quite a while, and, like, with bands like All Time Low, Hit the Lights, and, let me just look at I'm trying to find more, because I'm not really coming up with very many bands right now that I can think of, at least. And Yellow Card was obviously their Ocean Avenue album was huge. But All Time Low is definitely the biggest band. Riot by Paramore was a huge album. Paramore is definitely this, like, this era of pop punk. Maybe a little bit overlapped with era 1, but they were mostly era 2, I feel like. And yeah, Fall Out Boy, obviously their early stuff, like, as I talked about earlier, Take Us to Your Grave and whatever the Corkscrew one is. I can't remember the name of the album ever. Jeez, I don't know why. And yeah, those were really, like, they kind of, like, it kind of lasted for quite a while, from, like, 2002 to 2008. Obviously, I feel like it got maybe a little bit more, like, poppy or whatever towards the end, like, with Boys Like Girls and stuff. They were obviously, like, kind of more poppy, I'd say. And yeah, that's really era 2. Like, era 2 was, honestly, I think I liked it a lot. It was like a solid thing. It was right in the middle. It had a perfect mix of punk and pop, a perfect mix. But I'm not talking about pop like Mariah Carey. I'm talking about pop like, I'm trying to think of a band nowadays that is like I don't know, Five Sauce or whatever. Like that's like a different kind of pop than like freaking Taylor Swift. I don't know. But anyways, it's like a perfect mix. It was a perfect mix, and it wasn't completely like, yeah, and we don't give a about nothing. You know, it wasn't like all. Which don't get me wrong, I love that stuff, but it was just like a good mix. It had a good sound, and it was just really solid. Um, and then there's era three. So punk pop, honestly, I'm not gonna. It died probably like 2008 about. And obviously there was still like some stuff that was coming out that was pretty like popular. Like Green Day came back, and with American Idiot. I'm not exactly sure when that album came out, but they were coming out with albums like 21st Century Breakdown in 2009 and stuff, and like obviously coming out with then Revolution Radio or whatever. But yeah, and it kind of just died, and no one, yeah, it was just a dead genre for a while, and people, I guess people were still listening to it that were kids back then, but no one really cared about it anymore. Didn't exist. Maybe a little bit, but like obviously there were still punk pop bands that existed, but it wasn't really something that people were like listening to a lot. It wasn't like you would go through schools seeing people wearing like certain band shirts and stuff that were punk pop, but and then I feel like it kind of made a comeback almost, but it was very very different. It was still punk pop, but it was different. Bands like State Champs, which are from my hometown. Oh shoot, I should not have said that. They're definitely not from my hometown. Sorry. Whatever, no one's gonna watch these videos anyways, it doesn't matter. You know, like The Story So Far, The Wonder Years, obviously I really like The Wonder Years a lot. And Newfound Glory was still coming out with stuff that was honestly solid. I have to give kudos to Newfound Glory for a second, just for a second, because they never got bad. They never stopped making good music. They honestly, they stayed strong. Like I think their last album to come out was Makes Me Sick. I love that album. That was like 2017 or something. Like, good job, Newfound Glory. I'm just gonna say, like, shout out to Newfound Glory. Like, you never stop making good music, unlike Blink-182 and freaking like other bands like that. Jeez, like, good job. I'm proud of them. Like, honestly, good job. Anyways, and like Neck Deep was huge. Definitely, they're probably the biggest like comeback pop punk band, or like era 3 punk pop band, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, it was definitely very different. It had a different sound. It wasn't as much like I don't know, I guess it was just different. I don't really know how to explain it. It was more, it got more poppy. I'm not gonna lie, it got more poppy, but not like bad, not in a bad way. I don't really know how to explain this. And then in era 3 there's some bands that I'm not gonna lie, people called them punk pop. I don't think they're punk pop like at all. They're kind of like fake punk pop. I'm not gonna lie. Like Water Parks. A lot of people who like punk pop, they love Water Parks. Don't get me wrong, I love them too. I love them. Double Dare is solid, and Fanta or whatever it's called. I love those two albums. I didn't really listen to don't really like the middle one, but anyways, they're a good band, but they're not punk pop. I just don't find them to be very punk pop. And same thing with Five Sauce. Obviously, Five Sauce, a lot of people don't really say that about them, but a lot of people do consider them to be punk pop. Like Patty Walters from As It Is, he's been listening to Five Sauce for a while, and he talks about Five Sauce and stuff, and about them being punk pop. They're not really punk pop. I don't know. They're too much pop. And As It Is, I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of pushing it to be punk pop. I mean, they're good, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about them. But yeah, it made a comeback, and it kind of stopped in like probably 2017, because 2017 there was some good albums obviously that came out in 2017, like Vacation by Seaway. Yeah, I love that album. That's probably my favorite, one of my favorite like era 3 albums. But and then it kind of, there's not really many good albums that came after. I mean, obviously they still exist. Like State Champs is working on a new album right now. In Her Own Words, they just made an album which I really like. I think I might do an album review on their 2019 album Steady Glow pretty soon. I feel like, honestly, I know a lot more bands from Era 3 than I do from any other. And that's strange because I feel like, I don't know, I've been trying to find bands that are similar to Blink-182 or Sum 41, but I've had a hard time. I can't really find any. And I've also been working on finding more bands, obviously, from Era 2, because Era 2 is the best era, okay? And I think that it's the best era because, obviously, as like I was saying earlier, it just had a perfect mix. It just had a perfect sound, perfect mix, and it just really made you kind of like, it was just something that you could really jam with and you could really vibe with. And I feel like that's like the best era in my opinion. But Era 3, I know a lot more bands from that era, and there's a lot more albums that I know that are from the era, and I don't really know why. Probably because just Spotify comes up with stuff from like that or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like this era is actually probably my least the new era is probably my least favorite era, and then my so I'm gonna rank it, okay? So second era is the best, first era is the second best, and third era is the worst. But I know so many third era bands, and it's annoying. And Neck Deep, I used to like them, but now I don't like them anymore. I don't really know why. I used to be obsessed with Wishful Thinking and stuff, but I kind of just, I don't know, I just stopped listening to it, and I just realized it's the same thing with the story so far. I just kind of felt like it just sounded all the same. Like every song sounded the same to me. And I mean, their sounds changed throughout their albums, but the whole album just kind of sounded the same. And I just didn't really like that. I don't really like that anymore. I just don't like them that much anymore. Proper Dose, I used to love that album so much, but I don't know. I mean, sorry, Proper Dose actually is not that bad is my favorite album of the story so far, but it just is very kind of like the sounds but like the rest of the album just kind of sound the same. And on that album, there are multiple songs that sound the same, but then there's some songs that are different that are like more calm and stuff. But I just don't know. I do really like the story, a lot of things about the story so far. And Neck Deep, I'm kind of just over them, but the story so far is good. And yeah, I mean, this is really it. I think I didn't edit this video at all. It's very raw, and I'm sorry about that. One of my friends wanted to edit, but there's really no ways that I could get the footage to her so she could edit it. I'm sorry. I know you're excited to do that, but denied. Sorry about that. And yeah, I don't know. I hope maybe someday I can actually edit these videos so that they'll be better, but I'm not really sure. The next album I'm gonna do an album review next. I'm definitely gonna do a Era 3, because I haven't done any Era 3 ones yet. I've done two Era 2 albums. So I'm gonna do an Era 3 album. I'm probably gonna do I'm gonna either do Steady Glow by In Her Own Words, or let me look through my Spotify albums. Hold up, let me just find one. Second one. Let's see. Or maybe I won't do a punk pop album. I might do like something that's like not punk pop or screamo. Let's see. Or okay, I'll do either In Her Own Words or Same Old Blood Rush with a New Touch by Q is what we aim for. I'm pretty sure they're not pop punk. They're kind of like I don't really know what they are, but yeah. I'll put it on my Instagram. If you're watching this, you probably already follow my Instagram because I know you. And yeah, I'll just do a poll and see where it goes. And yeah, just tune in for the next video. I'm sorry, this one's really long. It's almost 20 minutes, but I'm sorry. And I'm sorry that these videos are raw, but bye.